This video tutorial will show you how to change the funding of an already approved study. You first need to log into your REMO account and choose the study that you want to change funding for. You can do that by accessing the My Studies tab and clicking on the name of the study. In an approved study, you'll see a number of activities on the left-hand side that you can choose from, and the second one is Change Funding. So please note that changing of the funding can only be executed through this activity. It can no longer be executed through submitting an amendment. So once you click on Change Funding, the options will come up, and these options are the questions in the application that would need to be updated. So let's say that initially your study was unfunded and you needed to add funding to the study. When you click on Change Funding, the questions that come up are going to reflect what is currently in the existing application. So question 1 asks if the study is funded or unfunded. And if you needed to add funding from an unfunded study, for instance, you could click on Funded. 2.0 is asking for the type of funding, whether it's grant funded, contract, internal funds, other. If it is other, please provide details below, or if it's a service agreement. So you can click on the option there. 3.0 asks you to indicate which office administers your reward. So you can choose from the RSO, NACTRAC, or Covenant Health. If you choose other, please again provide details below. And please also note that it's the PI's responsibility to provide ethics approval notification to any office other than the 3 listed here. So let's say that the RSO was administering your award. You would choose RSO. And in the funding source, you can select all the sources of funding from a generated list below. So you can start typing any organization where your funding is coming from. We have a pretty extensive list, but if it happens that the organization is not in the list below, you can add the information here. And so this is just going to be a free text box where you indicate the organization or sponsor or agency. You can click OK and add another if you need to add more than one, or you can just click OK for the change to be administered. 5.0 asks you to indicate if the research is sponsored or monitored by any of the following: the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, National Institutes of Health, National Cancer Institute, the FDA, or OHRP. If it's not applicable, you can choose not applicable. You also need to indicate here whether or not the FDA investigational new drug number or device exception is required. So you can list that here. Now, number 6, this question is specifically for funding that is being administered through the RSO. So if you click RSO in 3.0, it's important to add information in 6.0. So you need to add the corresponding project ID, project title, and speed code to connect to your RSO funding. So you just add the information here from RSO. You can click OK and add another if your funding is coming from more than one source, or just click OK to update. And so you'll see that this information shows up here. So again, when you're adding information or editing information, you can also delete any funding that is no longer applicable to your study. So before you click OK to make sure that you're applying the changes, just check over this change funding page one final time to make sure that all of the information is accurate. Click OK, and the funding will be updated. So you're not going to receive any sort of letters that the funding has been changed or anything, but you will see in the history of the study that the change funding activity was executed, and its date and time stamped here. If you did want to go double check that the changes were applied to your study, you can click on View Study and go to your funding information if you've added funding information. And so here you'll see that the type of funding that you changed to is applied here with the RSO And the next page is just about RSO managed funding. So you can see that the project ID and the speed code for the project are implemented here as well. And that is how you change the funding on an already approved study.